to fly, and they're flying everywhere all the time. Usually in September, we have a nice break. We do some maintenance, we do some painting, but not this year. It's been nonstop passengers since the beginning.
What kind of numbers are you seeing at the airport, in terms of, daily rates of people coming through there or in percentage increases?
Every week we're setting a record, all-time record in Jacksonville. And the Sunday after Thanksgiving, which is the busiest travel day of the year, we have 15,000 airline seats. Now we are assuming most of those seats will be full. And if that's the case, that will be another record all time
15,000 in one day.
in one day.
And so that is a rebound. Obviously, COVID hollowed out the industry. So you've seen surpassed, obviously, what even pre-COVID
Oh,
was.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what do you attribute that to?
A number of things. I think people, first they were doing the remote work so they could work anywhere. So they were getting on a plane and going to Europe and working remotely, or they're taking the kids out of school and going on vacation. People are just traveling the world. It's amazing.
Yeah. And so officials there are, realize that there is this surge in passengers. You're actually seeing larger planes, I think, than you previously did,
Yes.
which can maybe not impact air traffic, but definitely impact crowds in the concourses.
Yes. The number of people that come in and out at one specific time on a bigger airplane has a huge crush on the parking. And what we tell people when they pull up is it says parking full. Well, the next flight that comes in, maybe 100 people get off and move their cars out of that lot, and then all of a sudden it's open again. So it's a constant up and down all day long.
So I want to ask you if officials are doing enough to publicize this parking crunch. And I ask that because, I'm in news, and my recent trips to the airport took me aback. I knew that there was a parking garage under
Mhm.
construction, but I hadn't seen any news stories specifically about, we're going to be losing hundreds of parking spaces because of this parking garage. And we are routinely closing all of the lots so that, there's nothing available unless you take a shuttle bus.
Well, those stories happened earlier this year in the spring when all of this started. We did the groundbreakings and then we put out the information to tell everybody during the peak holiday times, maybe it's best if you get a friend or relative to drop you off or maybe take an Uber Lyft to the airport. We all sat around in a room and held hands with our tenants, our airlines, and our customers saying the next 2 years is going to be pretty tough. Um,
I think you used a different phrase.
I think I might have, but we said everybody take a breath because it's going to be a challenge. And so the first thing we did is we expanded an economy lot 3, which shouldn't fill up. It may fill up on 1 or 2 days a year because of Thanksgiving, but for the most part, it stays pretty open. And so that's always a backup for people to come to the airport and they can't find the garage or surface lots that they want. Economy 3 is usually open, and we have a shuttle that runs every 7 minutes.
I'm now familiar with Economy Lot 3, and I definitely am not a shuttle bus person. Usually, if you're just joining us, we're talking to Mark VanLoh. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Jacksonville Aviation Authority. We're talking about changes and some parking issues at the parking garage. So I was on one of these shuttle buses. One of the drivers kind of schooled us on the ride in, and he basically said, this is something that's going to continue for the next 2 years. He said, either have someone drop you off at the airport for the next 2 years, or add 1 additional hour to your arrival. Get there that much earlier in case you have to park at one of the off-site parking spaces, in case the economy lot is full and you have to go kind of double back and go to one of the privately owned parking lots.
Now, to prevent a lot of that worry if among our passengers is we have FDOT signs on the interstates warning you when the terminal lots are full. So as you come to the airport, those signs should be illuminated saying, make alternate plans, the terminal's full, the parking's full, period.
Where do I see that if I'm coming on I-95?
The big signs overhead that FDOT uses to
Mhm,
warn you about crashes ahead,
mhm.
they also have airport terminal messages when we have that issue. When the parking is absolutely full, you'll see those signs. We also have it on our website. We ask people to check. You can see how many parking spaces that are available. And eventually, like I said, that happens a couple times a year during the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and maybe the 4th of July. But for the most part, there should be parking on the airport.
Is it accurate, though, for us to expect this to be for the next 2 years?
Well, it's less than 2 years now because we started construction already. But yes, I tell people it'll be the late summer, early fall for 2026 when the new concourse is open and the new garage is open.
So I went on the JIA website, and I know that there is a location if you kind of dig for parking, but there's not anything on the jump page, just sort of laying out the parking situation. Do you think that maybe that could get a little higher profile?
Oh, absolutely. We have I actually have a page I can go to on my desktop and see real time how many spaces we have available amongst all of our parking options. And so I think that should be on the website, and if it's not clear, we'll make it clear so people can go and look and see where their favorite parking spots are and how much space they have.
So I guess in big picture, some of this difficulty that is being experienced out there is sort of a net good for the airport. I mean, I imagine you make a significant amount of your revenues from parking.
Oh, it is. Airport parking is the number one source of revenue at airports in the United States.
Wow.
Number 1, more than the rental cars, the airlines, anybody.
How much of your budget does it make up?
I would say it's probably 40% of our budget is
Wow.
parking cars.
Parking costs have gone up at the airport, I've noticed. I mean, I was looking to see now that, the economy lot, I think, used to be 4, now it's 8. In, the recent years, the surface lot was maybe like 10, and now it's 14. So they have creeped up. What is that?
Well, we did lower parking during COVID, and I believe we're just back to where we were. So we really haven't because of the crunch, the last thing you wanna do is raise the cost of parking.
Mhm.
You've already got upset customers. You don't need to add one more layer of frustration. So
What are you doing about upset? Is that something you get an earful of all the time? Am I just piling on here?
we don't really because we feel that we've got signs everywhere telling people terminal parking full, use economy lots. And we've also got great services just off the airport, that USA Park and Wally Park that do assist us. And last year when we ran out of parking during the holidays, the local hotels also offered parking
Ah.
and hop on the hotel shuttle to the terminal.
Anecdotally, I heard that there were people actually parking at River City Marketplace and walking to the airport. Is that a story that you heard?
That's a long walk. I don't think I've seen anybody walk. They could probably catch a cab,
Yeah.
but walking on that road would not be preferred.
Yeah, I think it would be very dangerous. But this is an expansion. I guess will bring in some more revenue, and obviously you need it to accommodate the rise in passengers. But there's also some other changes going on at the airport, big ones. Um,
Yeah,
what?
absolutely. The new concourse. We're adding 6 new gates, and what the passengers may also have noticed is because of that construction, we've taken out the club at Jack's, and more importantly, we took out one of our Starbucks, which
Oh
the
boy,
last thing, as you said it, the last thing you want to do is mess with someone's coffee in the morning.
right?
We have added a lot more coffee options. We have Southern Grounds. The Chili's has now been refurbished and reopened. People love Chili's. But that one Starbucks, right when you walk through security, is not there anymore because of construction.
That
So,
whole
but
food court has been closed down.
exactly. But there are other options, and we're making sure we're able to accommodate anybody who is hungry or thirsty.
And you do have some local businesses there. I wonder if that's like a conscious decision that you're making. You mentioned Southern Grounds,
Oh,
but there's
absolutely.
Angie Subs also.
I Years ago, when I landed in Jacksonville, I saw a Burger King. And I'm like, "Well, I'm at the beach. I wanna know the flavor of Jacksonville." So, we have Firehouse Subs, which, as you know, started in Jacksonville. Angie Subs, which is phenomenal. I've never had one before. And then Southern Grounds. We wanted more of a Jacksonville flavor because you can go and get a Burger King anywhere, but we wanted something with the local flavor of Jack's. The next thing I'd love to see is some kind of a fish camp, seafood offering, but I guess the fryers and terminals, frying seafood is a little difficult for building codes, but we'll work on that.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. So, the airport itself is busier, and obviously you're dealing with that on the customer level. Um, but it's also once again an international airport, which is kind of a big deal, right? There's a daily flight, I guess, to Toronto.
There will be.
There
It's
will
not
be.
started, but
Okay.
but people ask that all the time, "Why are you international flight? You don't have any." Well, we do. We have several international flights a week. They are charters, and then several international flights a day coming in from all over the world on corporate aircraft. So
But in terms
they
of
are
like,
clearing customs.
sure, sure. So you earn that name, but not in a way that most passengers
Exactly,
experience, right?
exactly. But Air Canada starts next spring to Toronto.
So what does the airport do to try to like, do you actively try to get international
Oh,
flights?
absolutely.
So
We are
what's
traveling the world, talking with airlines. We just got back from London and Frankfurt. talking to their European carriers about coming to Jacksonville. Of course, they all want revenue guarantees, which is millions of dollars a year to guarantee they will make money in Jacksonville. So that's the difficult part.
And is that something that they try to earn from, like, a fee that you pay them? How does that work? I mean, who is courting who? They want this guarantee. Is that just some money that comes from the customers? Do you have to?
No, it has to come from the city, Jacksonville region, business leaders, city hall, chamber of commerce. It cannot come from the airport by law. We're not allowed to do that for airlines. So if an airline has a 200-seat jet and they fly from, say, Amsterdam to Jacksonville, they want a certain percentage of those seats filled. So they want to make money on every flight. And if they don't, they want you to make up the difference. It could get very expensive. It costs several $100,000 to make one flight to Jacksonville from Europe with
Yeah.
fuel and aircraft and crew. So you have to make up the difference. Now, if you do your job right and do your marketing and your stats, you can make a break even. So we think we have enough passengers going to Europe every day
But
to
if
make it to break even.
but if you didn't, that money would have to come from
Yes.
taxpayers of Jacksonville.
Well, somebody from Jacksonville, maybe the business in other communities, the business leaders have stepped up and put a community fund together so they can draw down the monies they donated to that fund.
And generally, how full does a plane have to be to reach that threshold?
Usually, depending on how many people are in first class, because that's where they make their money, 80 to 90% full.
Wow. And so Air Canada obviously thinks that there's that market,
They do.
and you also
And we
believe that.
agree. We've showed them the numbers that Toronto will work because you can fly Air Canada to Toronto and then fly anywhere in the world from Toronto.
Oh, my producer is just noting to me that Burger King was actually founded in Jacksonville in 1953. So I guess that's sort of a local business too in its own way. We've got a call from Charles on the west side. Good morning, Charles. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, Charles. I think I just straight up hung up on you. I apologize for that. Try back if you feel like it. So, uh, a year and a half from now, what are we going to be experiencing at the airport?
Plenty of parking, plenty of garage parking. We should not run out of garage parking for many, many years. And then this new beautiful concourse, and you may have seen pictures on the news of the artist rendering, but it'll mirror what we have. So when people land, they will know they're in Florida. The bright terrazzo floors, the glass, the Florida theme. And then it'll be occupied mostly by American Airlines. American Airlines has asked us for 5 of those 6 gates.
Wow.
So
And
that's good news for us.
where does they primarily go?
American flies to all their hubs.
Okay.
So what we're thinking, and they don't need right now 5 gates, which is good news because they will need 5 gates, which tells us new service somewhere.
Wow. And I want to ask you just in terms of positioning against Orlando. I imagine when you're trying to get whether it's international or national flights, that really is a difficult neighbor to have.
In some cases it is, in some cases it's not. Orlando is a leisure destination. Those flights to Orlando are cheap. Airlines don't make a whole lot of money. It's like Las Vegas. Nobody pays a lot of money to go to Las Vegas. The airlines make money on business communities like Jacksonville. And so we are a highly desired airport to fly into in Florida.
All right. I think Charles is back on the line. Good morning, Charles. Go ahead. I don't know. I'm not sure if you are there.
Mentioning the bus that goes there every hour on the hour. JTA has a bus called 1A. You can go on your phone and look it up, and it drops you right there at the airport. And it's every hour, and I've used it. It's $1.75 each way, unless you're over 65, and then it's free.
Well, that's good to know. Where does that bus leave from?
I don't know, somewhere downtown.
Charles, where do you pick up that bus? Charles? I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah, where do you pick up that bus when you take it?
downtown,
Okay.
right at the main station,
Okay.
and it runs up and down Main Street, and you can pick it up.
Excellent. Thank you for that. That's a really good alternative option. I would guess probably Uber or Lyft, that kind of rideshare is also a really good idea this time.
It is.
Yeah. Um, all right. So your big message for the next couple of weeks, just,
A couple of years.
well, but particularly over the
Oh,
holidays, I guess
okay.
is what I'm thinking. Yeah.
is have some patience. Make sure you're educated. Check the website, check the signage as you drive into the airport and have a plan B. That spot you love in the garage or valet may be gone. The beauty of Thanksgiving is there isn't a lot of business travel, and business travelers love valet. So hopefully some of those premium parking options are open because the business traveler's at home. It's all leisure now for the next 2 weeks. So hopefully we will have those spaces that people enjoy.
All right. Well, when I can afford $28 a day parking, I will let you know. But Mark VanLoh, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right.